Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Good morning. Oh,
Hello.
sorry. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, I apologize. But gonna be early, very early for our guest this morning. So all right. So we got about 12, 13 people join on the line. It's perfect. Okay. All right. So let's start. So anybody else can join us later. Feel free. But anyway, but thank you for everybody to make your time joining, the Zoom call this evening. And we are lucky to have 27-year coach experience with us this morning, so Coach Molitor. And he got everything. He started with the coach at basketball program and coach, women golf program and men's golf program, and also now assistant athletic director for the Whitman University. To not long overdue, Coach. This is all our client from Thailand and also Singapore and some other countries. We all here and thank you again for your time this morning. It's very early for you. Thank you. 6:30, right?
Yes, 6:30. And first, I'd like to apologize for last week. George and I got our AMs and our PMs mixed up, and I got a text from him that said, "Hey, we're waiting for you on the call," and it was about an hour after I woke up. So, so I apologize for last week, but I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, thank you again, and apologize on my part. I mixed up with the AM and PM, but we have about half an hour or so today, and I only invite our small group so that way they somebody have a question anything like that. I hope it's okay if they jump in and ask you all these questions. But one of the things I'm sure that they like to know is about your program, about your school, and as a coach perspective, how you recruit player to join the school and your program. So I think
Sure.
that would be wonderful.
You bet. So first of all, thank you again. It's a pleasure to join you all, and this is a big week. George and I were just talking about Patty, and I'm not going to try her last name, but the victory that she had last week in the Anna Inspiration against Lydia Ko. So your part of the world has always been awfully well represented in the LPGA and the PGA, and I think it'll continue to do nothing but get even better. And then it's also so exciting with Hideki Matsuyama being the new Masters champion and the Olympics coming to Tokyo. So this is a very exciting time for Asian golf. And we coincidentally, I saw one of the photos that George sent out about our program. And it was very apparent that we've had a lot of Asian players on our women's side, not so many on our men's side. So just to give you a little of my background, I've been at Whitman College. This is my 27th year. So the first 14 I coached men's basketball, and the last 13 I've coached golf. 10 of them were women's golf. The first 10, and then 3 years ago our men's coach retired and they asked me to oversee both the men and the women's program. And I had played collegiately at Gonzaga University. If you're a basketball fan, you might recognize that name. And I had played both basketball and golf at Gonzaga, and then went into coaching, and here we are a few decades later, and my wife and I both work at Whitman College. My wife, Amy, teaches environmental studies. And so we both feel very fortunate to be at Whitman College. And before I talk about Whitman, I'd just like to make a comment in general about, getting an education and competing collegiately in the United States. I would just really encourage any of you, use, George is a wonderful reference. He and I both know Katie Miles Brophy, another outstanding reference, and she's met some of you when she's come over and done a camp. and myself as well, just be very comfortable using us as resources and references, not only for our schools, but for schools in general in the United States. We're really fortunate that there's, players from all over the world who think highly of coming to the States to get an education and compete collegiately. And just want to encourage you to, that's a dream that's very, very achievable. And we feel fortunate that we have players from countries like Thailand, who feel inclined to get their college education in the States while playing collegiately. So more specifically about Whitman College, if you're familiar with the college structure in the States, we're an NCAA Division III institution. So the NCAA oversees the majority of colleges that compete athletically, and there's Division I, Division II, Division III. Division I are the large schools, like UCLA. Patty was the gal who won on the tour at the Anna Inspiration. I think she just spent her freshman year. She might have spent both freshman and sophomore year at UCLA, and then she went to the tour. But UCLA, USC, Stanford, University of Washington, Washington State, Oregon State, those level of schools are NCAA Division I. And those programs, competing collegiately there is very, very serious business as far as, they receive scholarships and have large budgets and fly to tournaments and that kind of thing. Very competitive to get into. It's also set up in such a way where, it's, George's son right now is at the University of Virginia. It's very challenging to balance both academics and athletics when you're at that very high level Division I. And Division II is kind of, they do have some scholarships. And then Division III, we're considered non-scholarship. And you have to be a little bit careful with that because most of our players receive a lot of scholarship money. It's just that our scholarship money is not designated for athletics. And so I'll use George's son as an example. If he would have come to Whitman College, he wouldn't have received any athletic scholarship. At University of Virginia, he does receive athletic scholarship, I assume. But at Whitman, he would have received academic merit scholarship that can be anywhere up to $25,000. And then he also would have received most likely some diversity scholarship, which would help defray the costs. And so NCAA Division III is non-scholarship athletically, but we do give a lot of scholarship money, either for academics or diversity. So the college is 1,500 students, very small. A lot of our students go to high schools with a higher enrollment than Whitman. And that allows students to really get to know their professors. Again, my wife teaches environmental studies and she advises about 30 kids, and she knows those kids. She knows their transcripts, she knows their families, she knows their aspirations, what they want to major in. And so small private schools like Whitman allow students to get to know their faculty very well. And so we're 1,500 students. We're in a small town called Walla. It's only about 40,000 people. It's kind of a fun little community. There's a lot of wineries here and a lot of tourist industry, but it's not a big city. And so our players tend to, our best players tend to be outstanding players who could perhaps go Division I or Division II, but they choose to go Division III so they can keep academics on the front burner. They can keep academics as their top priority, even though they're putting a lot into their golf game. And so that gives you kind of a real ballpark, a real snapshot of Whitman College as far as size and community and the kind of, most of our kids major, they can major really in anything. We have a lot of science majors. And science majors, for example, a lot of times Division I or Division II, it's hard to major in the sciences because you're missing a lot of school with tournaments. And you might also not be able to take labs in the afternoon for chemistry or biology or physics or those kind of things. And that's how we get some of our best players, is they want to major in the sciences. But they want to compete, have a great golf experience, but they don't want it to be a 4 to 6 hour a day regiment. They want it to be more, our labs finish at 4 o'clock, and they'll go out and practice from 4:15 to 6:15. And then we compete on the weekends. Saturday, Sunday are our tournaments, so we miss very little class. So that tends to be how we get our better players, is they could go Division I, Division II. They choose to go Division III to have a better balance of academics and athletics. So I'll stop there and let George ask another question, or any of the participants.
Okay, well, thank you, Coach. And I have to also let you know that Whitman and the area that you are at is one of the most beautiful location in U.S. Northwest.
We're real fortunate. It's we're actually called the Whitman Blues, and the Blues stands for the Blue Mountain Range, which is we're right at the base of the Blue Mountain Range. My wife and I, for example, very frequently on the weekends will hike up into the Blue Mountains and see some wonderful wildlife and fabulous scenery. And so, George, I appreciate you saying that, and we really enjoy this part of the country.
Well, and also you will, I guess it's U.S. rank of the, happy, I would say happy student.
Yeah, that we kind of
rank up.
Our kids kind of joke about that a little bit, because it's kind of a interesting category, but we have at times been ranked we have the happiest students in the United States. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth.
Good. So, all right, let me start with my question, and then if anybody else have questions, just go ahead and raise your hand. You see at the bottom of the screen, there's a hand that you can raise, and then we can move on. But please ask any question that you like to know from Coach, and also about the college recruiting process, all the stuff. So, Coach, since you've been at Whitman for 27 years, and you were the basketball coach, and now you are golf on both men's and women, is there any difference between recruiting when you recruiting a player to your program, between basketball and golf?
Interesting question. First time I've been asked that question. So I would say what's kind of interesting after coaching both women's golf and men's golf, we tend to get more international interest on the women's side than we do on the men's side. And I'm not quite sure why that is. But, for example, if you look at if you look at the top 25 teams, for example, NCAA Division III, I would guess that at least 50% of the players on those teams tend to be Asian. And so they'll, our best rosters, we've had kids from China, from Phoebe Nguyen was an All-American for us, and she was born in the States, but her parents immigrated from Vietnam. Our best player last year, they speak Korean in the home, and her dad lives in South Korea, and her mother is in Seattle. And so we've had a nice blend of Asian players on our women's side, and we haven't so much on our men's side, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I think I'll probably more actively recruit internationally on the men's side than perhaps the coach prior. But and then when recruiting for basketball, we would the first thing we have to do is find really good students whether they're basketball players or golfers, they need to be really good students to get into Whitman and to do well when they're at Whitman. And so I had a few international players on the basketball side. Coincidentally, and especially if any of you follow college basketball, one of my former players, his name is Tommy Lloyd, and he's been the assistant basketball coach at Gonzaga University for the last 20 years, and he just became the head coach at the University of Arizona. And his trademark was international recruiting. And so he had, in fact, Rui Hachimura from Japan, and who's in the NBA now, came to Gonzaga. Tommy recruited him, but he'd recruited a lot of kids from Europe and Canada. And so, as far as difference recruiting basketball players and golfers, we certainly had more African-American players when, we don't have a lot of African-American golfers. We had a lot of African-American basketball players, more international flavor, especially on the women with the golfers versus basketball. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, mostly. And now, so, all right. So most of our golf clients are here in the Zoom. What are factor that they should join you? Because a lot of time, when you hear about D2 or D3 programs, and especially in golf, they don't have facility for them to play, or it's half an hour or 45 minutes away. How would your program different than others?
Well, we're real fortunate from we get a lot of support for a Division III college. Sometimes Division III colleges don't put a lot of money into sports like tennis or golf, and we're real fortunate that our college very strongly supports those kinds of some of what are considered the minor sports. And so our budget is real good. We travel every year. We take a spring break trip. Next year, our girls play at the Jekyll Island tournament in Jekyll Island, Georgia. And typically, over the course of 4 years, our girls would have competed in Hawaii, Texas, Florida, Georgia. And so that's a fun aspect of our program. And we make those trips during spring break, so we're not missing class. But another way we're very well supported is our facilities. And so we have some indoor facilities, but the weather's good enough here where the majority of our facilities are outside. So if the Walla Walla Country Club is we have 3 courses we practice at every week. And so on the screen, I assume that your clients are seeing the screen right now. The Walla Walla Country Club is 3 miles from campus. It takes less than 10 minutes to get there, and we practice out there every week. Wonderful course. It was designed by the same person who did Winged Foot that the U.S. Open was at here a couple of years ago. And then Wine Valley is on the screen now. And so Wine Valley is a resort course that's 8 miles outside of town. It's out in the beautiful wheat fields. And so it hosts a lot of regional tournaments. And we just had our conference tournament out there 2 weeks ago. And so it's just an absolutely spectacular links course. There's not a tree on the course. There's not an out of bounds stake on the course, but there's just these, beautiful, huge bunkers and wonderful layout and quality of fairways and greens. And then Veterans Memorial, which is on the screen now. This is a course that adjoins our campus. And so kids can walk to practice. They usually drive, but it's very walkable. It's right next to our soccer fields and our track and our football field. And so Veterans Memorial is a public course. This is our course that's considered our home course of the 3 courses. Even though we're at every course every week, Veterans Memorial is set up in such a way where kids can go out there and play on the weekend. They can play as much as they want. And so we're just very, very fortunate to have amazing facilities and access to those facilities. And kids spend very little time in a car commuting from campus to the course. And it's one of the advantages of being in a small town.
Oh, wow. So this is one of the things that make you different than other D3 program, because a lot of time we hear that, you know, they want to come here play golf, but the program itself is not, you know, really competitive, and you can't play golf like every day, walk 5 minutes from your campus to play golf anytime.
Very much so. A real strong Division III program right now is NYU, New York University. They're doing a fabulous job recruiting. But those kids, you know, it takes them an hour to get to the facility. And, you know, the idea of getting out and playing on different courses 3, 4, 5 times a week is, most programs don't have that capability. We're very fortunate that way.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. You know, for me, you know, I asked all this thing that I like to know, but anybody from the floor that have a question, anything? Please, it's a good time to ask. Yes, คุณขวัญครับเชิญครับ
Hi, Coach. I'm new here. Actually, I'm supposed to be an observer, but I just want you to help me understand a little bit. You mentioned about a good student. Can you help me understand a little bit more about that? When you're looking for a good student, how good are they, and then what defines your goodness?
Okay, good. Well, and so let me refer briefly to Division I athletics. And so Division I athletics, it's a big business, and a lot of those students, let's say a football roster might have 100 players on it, or, you know, a baseball roster has 50 players. When those kids are scholarship players at the Division I level, they might be they'll have some top quality students, but majority of them are average, and there's several that are below average, and they're going to college primarily to be an athlete, and then they take classes that just keep them able to participate. And a lot of those kids don't get college degrees. They'll go there 2, 3, 4 years, and they'll perhaps leave without a degree, and they went mainly focused on athletics. And so colleges like ourselves, our kids' primary objective in coming here is to prepare themselves academically for their eventual profession, understanding that even if they do play golf for a while after college, they're going to need to do something beyond that for a career. And so our students tend to be, you know, if you look at your local high school, most of our students are out of the top 10 or top 25% of the students in that college. From my experience, the Asian kids who I have recruited come from schools and families who put a high priority on education. And so they're usually very well suited to do well academically in the States. Unfortunately, some of our students aren't as academically motivated as a lot of the Asian students who I've had, and they might not be as prepared to do college work as, you know, students who put a higher priority on their academics. So in the States, we go primarily by 4.0 as straight A's, 3.0 or as straight B's. So most of our kids are between a 3.5 and a 4.0, where it's either half B's and half A's, or, you know, mainly A's. But more importantly than their grades is their motivation, their intellectual capability, but then also their motivation to come and take care of business academically and not primarily be an athlete.
Thank you. You answered my question.
Thank you. So, Dilly, please go ahead with your question to Coach.
Yeah, so Good morning, Coach.
Good
So
morning.
I have like a little question to ask you. So I just want to know like how many students do like each university wanting to recruit like in each like year?
And so usually rosters range from 7 to 10. And so we usually bring in 2 or 3 players in one recruiting class. Now, our roster is small this year because of COVID. And so this year is very unusual. We just have 5 players on both of our men's and women's rosters, but usually we have 7 or 8. And it's real easy for you to get on colleges' websites and just go to their athletic website and then look at the roster for the women's golf team. And you'll see rosters that are 5, 6. You'll see some rosters that maybe be 10 or 12. And then ironically, when you see a real big roster, usually big rosters tend to be more colleges, smaller colleges like ourselves that aren't giving scholarships. And so we can accept up to 10, 12 players. Rarely will you see more than 10 players on a Division I roster because they usually have 5 or 6 scholarships. And so their typical roster would be 1 or 2 players every year. So they'll have, say, six scholarship players, and then they might have 2 what are considered walk-on players, players who aren't given scholarships, but they're good players and they're trying to earn a scholarship. And so there are some very large Division III rosters, but most of them range from 6 to 10.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You bet.
Good, Telly. First Cap, Telly Cap.
Good morning, Coach Skip.
Good morning.
So I would like to ask you more about when you mentioned that you went to Walla golf course every week to practice. I would like to know more like your practice schedule, maybe like how many times in a week you went to the course, and like maybe your fitness schedules, or do you do like, maybe the schedules? I would like to know a little bit more.
Very good question. And so we have about 10 weeks in the fall and 10 weeks in the spring where we can officially practice. And so during those weeks, typically we take Monday completely off, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll practice at Vets on Tuesday, Wine Valley Wednesday, and the Country Club on Thursday. And so on those days, depending on student schedules, we'll have everybody is available from 4 to 6. But if players have more time in their schedule, they can go out early. And then Friday, we're either traveling and playing a practice round, preparing for a tournament, or if we're not traveling, then we'll kind of move Friday around a little bit. And then the weekend, we're either competing in a 2-day tournament, or if we're not competing, we'll be doing some kind of qualifying at 1 or 2 of our home courses. So those are the 10 weeks in the fall: September, October, and then March, April are the 4 months where we're competing more often than not on the weekends. So that's what our schedule looks like then. Now the other months, November, December, January, February, and then during the summer, our players don't stay in Walla Walla during the summer unless they have an internship, at the college. Most of them go home, but they are here November, December, January, February. And so then it's not official practice. Now our kids can still get out and use the range and do a lot of individual work. And then that's when we do most of our fitness work. And so we have a fabulous fitness center. It's 10,000 square feet, and you'd think you were looking at an Olympic training facility. It's just beautiful, but it's for the whole campus. And so we'll get together there. Typically, we have 2 workouts a week that we do together as a team, and then players will have 2 workouts they do with their partner or 1 or 2 partners. And then, some kids enjoy working out enough where they might go 6 days a week. We don't like them to go 7 days a week in terms of fitness. But that gives you an idea of in season, 10 weeks in the fall, 10 weeks in the spring. And that's legislated by the NCAA. That's all you can do. And then when we're not in season, a lot of fitness, and then a lot of individual work. Kids use the range. Kids can, but we can't actively coach them in the off season.
Okay, well, thank you. And I think you
Thank you for
probably want to inform them that you are restricted to have a team practice, right? Require how many hours a week that you can?
Yeah, it's 20 hours a week. You're not supposed to spend over 20 hours a week. And so the whole idea there is not to overdo, not to expect kids to play 18 holes, 6 days a week, and just not have time for, their academics. But our players who are motivated, the beauty of it with a course right next to the campus is if kids want to play a ton, they can and they do. And, for some kids, they need to, a lot of our kids, it's sometimes academics can be very stressful. And oftentimes getting out to the golf course and just relaxing and hitting some balls or chipping and putting, or that tends to be a stress reliever rather than something that adds stress. So we have some kids who are kind of addicted to practice.
Yeah. So basically, it's one of there's a restrict on the team practice that coach can be with you, but if you
Correct.
like to play more, you can do on your own individual.
Correct.
So that's the whole point. That's why have a golf course next to the campus is an advantage to others. Okay, let's take the last question from Kun Wallapong ครับเชิญครับ
Hi, this is not Warpong, but I was wondering, I'm enrolling to Whitman this year, no, next year, but I was wondering, what's the academic life there? Yeah.
So the question is, what's the academic life like?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and so academically, if you're motivated and you're a good learner and a solid student, you're gonna love the environment. You're gonna get to know your instructors very well. You also get to know your advisor very well. I had mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were on, but my wife teaches environmental studies at Whitman, and she advises about 30 students. And so she helps them make decisions as far as what to major in. Should a student major in the sciences, math and science, or should it be more humanities? And so, it's one of the advantages of a small school is your classes are going to be anywhere from 10, usually between 10 and 20 students in one class. So there's a lot of discussion, and you're really able to get to know your classmates and your professors and your advisors and your coaches and that kind of thing. And so it's fabulous for motivated students. Our seniors this year, for example, we have a gal, Jenim Sadhu from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and she's applying to medical school and just a very hardworking and brilliant gal. She majored in biology. I've also coached several kids who went to med school who selected our primary med school preparation major is called BBMB, Biophysics, Biochemistry, and Molecular Biology. You wouldn't have found me in those classes. Those students are very gifted and motivated. And they're the kind of people that you want operating on you when you've got some kind of operation needed. Our other seniors this year, one's a environmental studies biology major, and she studied abroad in Turks and Caicos down in the Caribbean, and she did her thesis was on coral reefs and how to protect the longevity of coral reefs. And our third major is a psych major, and she's applying to graduate schools in psychology. A couple of our recent graduates, my wife and I traveled for a month 2 summers ago throughout China. We got down pretty close to Thailand, and so we had an all-American girl by the name of Xiang Fan, and they live in Shenzhen, China. And so we went over and spent some time with her and her family, and we spent an entire month traveling throughout China. But she majored in anthropology, and she actually is teaching as a golf professional right now in Shenzhen, but she just got admitted to the University of Edinburgh for a graduate program in anthropology. So she'll go to Edinburgh for a couple of years, and just a delightful person and a very, very bright young woman. So we've been fortunate. The 2 recent All-Americans we had, Xiang was one and Phoebe Nguyen was the other. And Phoebe, our parents emigrated from Vietnam in the 70s. And Phoebe ended up majoring in sociology, and she's working now. She's working now in Portland, Oregon, which is her hometown. So
That's good. Thank you. I'm glad that there's a lot of like bio major. I want to do pre-med, so that's good too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've probably coached over my time at Whitman. I've easily coached double-digit doctors. I had a basketball team where we had more doctors than kids who weren't doctors. It was amazing. So
Wonderful, Coach. Well, thank you again. So I will ask you to leave maybe last of wisdom for our client here on the line. This is last minute. Anything that you'd like to recommend them to do, or wisdom? Because
well,
27 years a long time.
When you mention wisdom, George, you probably have a lot more than I do. But one thing I'd say, one of the things that has been interesting with the pandemic is it's put such a priority on being grateful and appreciative. And so we finished a tournament last week, and especially on the women's side, we're used to doing very well. We didn't do quite as well as we're used to doing, but our number 1 player was was not in school, but when the players finished, even though we didn't finish quite as highly as we usually do, there was just this wonderful theme of the kids just were so appreciative and grateful of the opportunity to be with each other, to play golf, to do something they love. The first semester, our students didn't come. We didn't have in-person classes first semester. And so the second semester, we allowed students to come back to campus, and the athletes practiced with their team, but they didn't take classes in person because they were traveling to compete, and they didn't want to expose the general student body to anything that they would encounter when they were traveling and then returning. So as a result, teams practiced together, they pretty much lived together, and they took their classes online. And but the overwhelming theme was they were just so appreciative and grateful to be on campus with their friends, with their teams, able to compete, able to practice, able to travel, and able to take their classes online. And so next year we hope to be back to normal, where everybody's taking class in person. But I don't think we'll ever experience another year where players were, just so grateful to be playing regardless of what they shot. Golf tends to be a challenging game, and it's hard to tee it up and finish 18 holes and feel great about your performance. Golfers are notoriously hard on themselves, and we focus more on a double bogey than we do on the 2 birdies we had. But but this was a unique year where when they finished, they they got together with their teammates and just expressed a lot of appreciation for the opportunity to be playing college golf.
Wow. Well, with that, Coach, I don't have anything else to say because you just left everything out there that it's challenging time, but we can all appreciate it. We're still here.
You bet. Well, I appreciate everybody sitting in, and never hesitate to email me or have George get a hold of me, and just really appreciate your interest in competing in the States, but especially getting a college education in the States. And you're all to be commended for all the effort that you're putting into your academics and your athletics.
Well, thank you, Coach. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening.
You bet. Bye.
See you, Coach Skip.
Bye.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, Coach Skip.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to say that I'm a big fan of Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Oh, who is saying that?
It's me.
Ravapan?
Yeah, I'm here.
How do you pronounce your name?
It's Ravi Pond.
Ravipan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how did you become a fan of the Zags?
So I actually I really like the golf program and the golf team, and I watch the NCAA when it's live on TV here.
Okay. Well, I know the golf coaches up there very well, and the basketball coaches. I've one of them played for me, and so if you ever want an introduction, and then they're 3 hours from Walla. So if you visit Gonzaga University or Whitman, you should try to work both colleges into that same weekend when you visit those. But don't hesitate to use me as a reference.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go to the state this summer, so yeah, maybe I'm gonna go visit Gonzaga as well.
I expect to meet you then.
Okay, see you soon, Coach Skip.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
You bet.